7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's the Sit and Pie Show. It's the Sit and Pie Show. It's the Sit and Pie Show. It's the Sit and Pie Show.
Tonight, Sit and Pie welcome back hoops expert Gene Kelly, Can You Dig It? To talk Bulls basketball. Sit back, have some pie, and enjoy the show.
Hoops expert Gene Kelly. Can you dig it?
Hey everybody, it's the Sit and Pie Show, and we have one of our good buddies on tonight, Gene Kelly, hoops expert Gene Kelly. Can you dig it? We're talking about our favorite topic these days, and that's the Chicago Bulls. And nobody knows more about the Chicago Bulls than this guy. So we wanted the brightest and the best on our show, and we've got the hoop expert Gene Kelly. Can you dig it? So welcome back, Gene.
Hey, it's fun to come on this show when you're first in the East and the whole nation is abuzz about the Chicago Bulls. It's been a lot of fun so far, and we know this team can play even better at full strength. So, yeah, it's a lot more fun talking about this team than can Arch and Felicio and Denzel Valentine. Can they make the 10th spot in the East? We're in a little different position right now. Would you guys agree?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah. So Gene, overall, just kind of summarizing, and there's, we played a lot of games and we've got a real good look at the team. What's your overall impression of the team, offensively, defensively, collectively? What are your thoughts on how they've obviously gotten off to a great start. What are your thoughts so far?
They're fantastic. They've exceeded our expectations by far. Mark, in our last time we were together on the Sit and Pie Show, you made a comment. You said if they were to finish fourth in the East, they would have had a tremendous year. I think, or a fantastic year.
All really, really good teams. So if they can finish in the top four, they are going to have a really, really good season.
That would be unbelievable if they made it that far. Just for some perspective, they're number one in the East. They're number 3 overall in the league standings. They've been missing guys for a variety of reasons. So, the funny thing is, whoever they bring in, everybody plays well. I can't think of one guy they brought in that was just flat out bad. And so they're being coached up. There's a great chemistry on this team so far. The 2 superstars are really meshing well together. And, we know we need a few more tweaks to the roster, but overall, I'm thrilled. I mean, I can't believe we're talking about a Chicago Bulls team that's winning clutch games and just playing with such excitement in a deep team, a very deep team. So very excited.
Sid, what do you think?
Yeah, from an offensive defensive perspective, they're 8th in the league in scoring now, which, it's percentage points when you get up towards the top. I mean, that switches every night. They're 2nd in the league in field goal percentage, which is, so much different than what we've seen in the past. And defensively, I guess the only way I really measure them defensively is the improvement. When you watch Zach and you watch Kobe in particular, and Mark, you know this better than anybody, but maybe I'd love to get your opinion on this, but it seems like when they fight through screens better than I've ever seen them fight through screens. Somehow somebody got through to them about how to play defense. And Kobe in particular, his defense has improved tremendously. Then you add in Caruso, who while he was healthy, was leading the league in steals. It's like night and day compared to what we've seen before on the defensive end of the court. They have very fast hands. A lot of turnovers, a lot of steals. And the thing that amazes me, they're not a very good rebounding team, but they're very good at tip outs. Like Ball will get in there and he'll tip the ball out, and they keep the ball alive. So generally observation, offensive, defensively, I think they're just fantastic. What do you think, Mark?
Well, offensively, I mean, without, diving too deep, I think overall, what has impressed me greatly is how unselfish they are as a team offensively. You can see the sacrifices that individual players are making for the good of the team. Like Vooch is, I think, a prime example. His scoring average is probably down 8 points a game, I'd say. But you would never, you would never see that he would be bothered by that. He's all about winning. So I think how they share the ball and play offensively together has been really, really impressive. Defensively, we're at our best when Caruso's on the floor. He's our best defender. They've kind of put Io in that role, guarding the other team's best perimeter offensive player, and he's done a really good job. Our defense right now, the way the team is constructed, is at its best when they are containing the dribble. If they do that, they're really good. If guys are getting past that first layer of defense, we still don't have a rim protector, and teams are getting some easy baskets on us. But our team defense, our perimeter defense, has greatly improved from last year, and part of that is because we have better players. But I think we've been coached up really well on that end of the floor. But both ends, we've made great strides this year. So I really think that, as Gene alluded to earlier, once we, and if we tweak the roster going forward, we'll even improve more, especially on the defensive end.
Gene, what do you think about the roster, and has there been anything that's really impressed you or even surprised you?
I think guard play has been unbelievable. It's gone from, if you remove Zach LaVine from the equation on last year's team, let's just say you're not calling him a guard. They had no guards. They had, Sato and a limited collection. Right now, they've got 5 really, really good guards playing at a very high level, to the point that when Caruso comes back and Ball is on the floor without any foul trouble, it's going to be hard for the coach to figure out, okay, when do I put Kobe in? Do I sit Io for more minutes on this game? So I'm really impressed at the guard play. And to your point earlier about, you're seeing Kobe and Zach last year, not the most willing or effective defenders. Now they're fighting through screens, and they're rotating on help defense. I think this comes from being in practice with AC and with Ball, who are 2 guys that play defense at a very high level. And when you're in practice with these types of guys, you don't want to be the guy that looks that bad. So I think the kind of people they're adding, once again, AK and Mark Eversley doing a great job. The people they're bringing in, what they're adding to the ingredients is it's bringing things out in some of their existing players, which is fun to watch. We're seeing some really good defensive play.
Yeah, I mean, I think a few things that have surprised me is I didn't think AO was going to be as good as he's been. That's kind of stood out to me. And the other one is Caruso. Like, Caruso just has been a revelation. His defensive prowess, his ability to make big shots. He's just been such a great addition. And I just, he was he languished a little bit with the Lakers. He wasn't a starter. And the other thing is, like, early in the season when they were having injury problems, there's nights he was guarding the power forward. I saw him dinging up Julius Randle some nights, So, and then you throw in like Jones Jr. and I don't know how they figured out these guys were all going to mesh together, but they've done just a marvelous job of bringing in guys that just really fit a role, and Billy's been able to manage that really well. So I can't speak highly enough of what they've done. Mark?
Yeah, I thought about this when we were preparing for the show. Other than Marko Simonovic, I don't know if there's a guy on the regular roster, that hasn't helped us win a game. Maybe Devin Dotson, not as much, but everybody that they brought in, Alfonso McKinney, Tyler Cook, all these guys have contributed when they've been called upon, and it's been really amazing to watch. Credit the scouting staff and AK and Mark Eversley, like Gene mentioned, but we're getting some really good intel on these guys coming into the team and contributing. They're just thrown out there and they're contributing to wins, which is really, really amazing. So, I've been really impressed with the way the Bulls have managed the roster through, injuries and COVID. They've been probably better than anybody in the league with manipulating the roster and having people ready to play and step in for whoever's down. I think they've been just brilliant that way. So, moving forward, you just have confidence that as you look toward the playoffs, that the moves that are going to be made are going to be productive moves and they're going to improve the team. So, again, the bench is what's really, really impressed me with what they've tried to do without losing anything when other guys are out for whatever reason. So I think that's been really, really terrific. So moving on, Gene, we touched a little bit about AK and Mark Eversley. Billy Donovan and his staff have done a terrific job. What are your impressions of really the remarkable job that they've done so far?
Well, I got to go back to the last show when Chris let it fly that the Bulls now have the best coach in the league. And I kind of scoffed at it. I said, he's definitely a top 5, top 7. I want to go back to that comment. Chris, you were right.
The Bulls have just as much talent as some of those teams I mentioned. So to think that they can't put it together with what I consider to be the best coach in the NBA in Billy Donovan, at least.
Whoa.
Chris Sitowski jest szalony.
Chris, you were right. Billy is definitely the best coach in the league. And I judge that by his style of play, bringing all these different guys in that have not played together, that really haven't had a lot of success in the league outside of maybe DeMar and Caruso a little bit. You have all that mixed together. They come out of the gates hard and fast. We were worried about the month of November. They won 2 games in LA. They won 2 games in New York. And then they had a bunch of injuries and COVID, and whoever they brought in or brought up contributed. Matt Thomas had a couple good games for, Derek Jones Jr. has been a big surprise. And this guy was a throw-in to get rid of a contract on a sign-and trade. So been very, very impressed with Billy Donovan. And I think the whole staff. He goes out for a little bit. Chris Fleming comes in. They don't miss a beat. I think they were 5-0, or was it 5-0 with the – and it tells you that there's leadership in the locker room and the players level. And these guys are unselfish. And when a coach says something, they listen. And there's a collective, vibe that they want to get better. They don't just want to have a nice season. They want to win the East, and they want to get into the finals. Chris, what's your take?
Yeah, it's an amazing transformation. I think maybe in my lifetime, the greatest transformation I've ever seen in professional sports, from where they were to where they got to, and the decisions that they had to make to get there. And then you look at the fact that, you go back and you say, they're going after Billy Donovan. That's unusual. Like you wouldn't think that they would pivot that far off from where they were with the coach. Then all of a sudden last year, we're just going to go out and make a play for Vucevic. I'm like, okay. now you just moved your timetable up about 2 years by making that move, and they know that there's this window now. You've got this window with DeMar and Vuce where maybe it's 2-3 years, and they've got Pat Williams sitting back there, as a chip. Everybody thought Kobe was going to be gone. Kobe's been marvelous the last 2-3 weeks. So it's just like how they did things. It's like these other general managers have to be scratching their head. If you're Indiana right now and you've been languishing in the middle of the pack for the last, 5 to 10 years,
Right.
You got to look at the Bulls and say, man, we're doing something wrong. I mean, you can rebuild. I mean, they were the lowest of the low, and now they're at the top, and they did it in 2 years. It's unbelievable. So yeah. And Billy does all the right things. There's nothing I can, there's nothing that you look back on the games and you say, well, did he make the right decision with personnel, or did he make the right timeout call, or did he challenge that call? He never makes a mistake. So, I love what they've done. So how about you, Mark?
Well, I'm glad, Gene, you touched on it. I got to throw a shout out to Chris Fleming. He stepped in for 5 games and was perfect, including 2 buzzer beaters on the road where DeMar, was incredible, making the winning shot at the end of the game. But to step in like that and just we don't miss a beat. And he did a terrific job leading us while Billy was out. And you can tell Billy loves coaching this team.
Yeah.
This team, this group of guys, they have an incredibly strong culture and locker room right now. Billy's, calling the shots out on the floor. I think the players are policing themselves a lot too. But I think Billy loves coaching this team. And I think it's just a really good marriage right now. And right now we go to the top, you go to the front office, there's an opening now for a general manager in Portland. And Mark Eversley's mentioned as a candidate to move in. I mean, that's how highly regarded he is. And, really, if the season ended today, Arturas Karnisovas is the hands down winner of Executive of the Year, the way he's, put the pieces together for this team. So as far as the coaching staff and front office right now, it's an A+ rating from top to bottom. Terrific.
What was amazing the other day? It was very well publicized, but AO has his number retired in Champaign, and a veteran, a leader, makes a trip on his day off to go down with the rookie and watch him get his number retired. So, you look at things like that, and to your point, Mark, the culture is not even close to what it was before, right? And it permeates throughout, and I think that's a credit. They're bringing in, and we're going to talk a little bit about, what you would want as an addition. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. But they're very smart about the type of player that they bring in, the attitude and the willingness to work. And there's a reason why, when people were saying, well, let's give up Zach and get something for Zach, and they knew what they had. And now it's starting to come together for that guy, because he does, between him and DeMar, they don't just make shots, they make impossible shots, So when you look at their field goal percentage, degree of difficulty, add 5 points onto that,
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, great stuff.
Right.
All right.
Let's throw it back. Yeah, let's just throw it back to Gene. Gene, we've watched this team a lot. Any concerns as far as the team on the floor goes?
Plenty of them. I got tons of concerns. I'm stressed out at this team that's number 1 in the East.
Gene is a George Costanza of the Sit and Pie show with the concern thing.
Well, I think as the season goes on and the playoffs come around, the type of basketball changes. There's more half-court sets. The defensive resistance has got to be upped. And I'm very concerned about where the Bulls are in rebounding. I believe they're 29th overall in rebounds. Okay. Yeah. 28th in offensive rebounds. Now they've been playing the whole year with a 6'3", 6'4" power forward in Javonte Green. He's done an unbelievable job. I love that guy. But this team needs height and it needs rim protection. And I even saw it when Tyler Cook showed up for a couple games, played really well. He's a big body. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but he's a big body that took up the lane, and he plays with an attitude. Kind of plays with his hair on fire. I could see when the buyout season comes along, maybe even after the trade deadline, we got to look for some height. We got to, people keep throwing around these sexy names of, Jeremy Grant and guys that can shoot threes. And we are 3-point shooting is an issue too. I think we're like 22nd in the league on 3-pointers made. Ironically, we're number 1 in percentage of 3-point shots. So you figure that out. But I think when the playoffs come around, we are we need to think about the number 4 position and a strong backup for Vooch. If Vooch gets in foul trouble, not that he's a great defender or rim protector, but we don't have much height on this team that we can roll out. Tony Bradley's done a nice job in pockets. He has bad hands. He can't score consistently. So you look at who's going to give us trouble. Joel Embiid has got 2 wins against the Bulls this year. Who's going to guard KD? Who's going to guard the Greek Freak? They're all in our conference too. So we have really got to think about adding to bigs and defensive presence and really getting that rebounding back up. Mark, how about you?
You took the words right out of my mouth, Gino. The concerns on this team are exactly what you said. It's our size up front. It's our rim protection. There's no doubt. And when we, in our next segment, when we go into somebody we'd like to add to the team, mine is going to be a big for sure. And, obviously a wing defender. 3, like you just mentioned them, Gene, 3 of possibly the 5 best players in the NBA are guys that we're going to need to go through to get where we want to go. When we've beaten Brooklyn twice this year with Javonte Green and Derrick Jones Jr. doing the majority of the guarding on him and did a good job. We have not played Milwaukee yet, kind of a glitch in the schedule there. And Joel Embiid is way too mobile for Vooch. And he had, they beat us twice this year and he had 2 really good games. He's just too mobile for Vooch. So we do need somebody that's going to, no team really has great matchups against those players, but you have to have somebody that can bother them, that can contest them. Like last year in the playoffs when Milwaukee beat Brooklyn in the Eastern Conference Finals, PJ Tucker, who's probably 5 or 6 inches smaller than KD, just got under his shirt nonstop every possession and made it as difficult as possible for him to get good shots. So my main concern is interior defense, possibly a wing defender. But those are mainly my concerns. I think the culture is great. And Sid alluded to a little bit, I think online, those are our concerns, but the other teams in the league, they've got their concerns with playing the Bulls.
No doubt.
No doubt about it. They've got to match up with 2 of the best perimeter scorers and players in the league right now in Zach and DeMar. So we're going to be giving teams a lot of headaches from what we have, but those are ours that we kind of have to shore up. Sid, what is your take on it?
Yeah, I that was top on my list as well. I mean, it's pretty obvious, and Gene talked about with the rebounding disparity, and we're not good in that area. But Billy the other day after one of the Bulls games was talking about the fact that his concern was that the Bulls are reliant upon the 3 a little bit too much, and that there is no way humanly possible that Lonzo and Zach can keep shooting 3s at 41%. And you started to see it a little bit in the Dallas game when that wasn't going well in the second half. They got very reliant on the 3 ball. Luka came down the other way. They had nobody that could really stop Luka because of his size. And for the record, Luka, because I saw that game live from 3,000 rows up, but Luka is the closest thing to Irvin Magic Johnson. I mean, we always have these comparisons, the next Magic, the next Michael, the next. He is just like Magic. I mean, he takes over a game and he could take it to the hoop. He can dish. He can do it all. So he was amazing that night, coming off of an injury. But no, I think it's like they just, when they move the ball and they're getting out in the open court, they're making steals and they're doing their thing. That first half, that was a thing of beauty. The second half, they got lazy with the 3s. They didn't move on offense, and it showed. So I think they got to get downhill. When Zach is taking that ball to the hoop and DeMar's doing his mid-range thing, they're fine. If you're going to rely on 3s all night, you're going to be in trouble. So,
right.
So the Eastern Conference, I was looking at that earlier today, preparing for the show, and the thing that amazes me is you got 15 teams. You take out Orlando and you take out Detroit, who are nice young teams, by the way. There's 13 teams that you could say are still viable to win, be in the playoffs. So, the East is, as Gene said a few months ago, the East is a beast.
But there's one small problem. We've got to be better than 10 other teams in the East. I'd like us to be better than 4 other teams in the East. The East is a beast, Chris and Mark. And while we've gotten a lot better and we really improved the athletic ability and the experience on this team, the East is going to be very tough to compete in.
It still is a beast. It doesn't get any easier. Every time I think that there's going to be a break in the schedule, it just seems like it gets tougher for the Bulls. And I think the East is really turned around as a conference where the West used to dominate. I think it's starting to sway towards the East now. What do you think, Gene?
Absolutely. I forgot who I was listening to the other day, but he was saying, some of the best players in the West are now in the East. KD's hanging out in New York, and it's going to be tougher to get through it. My team that I was joking about them last time, but they're fun to watch is Cleveland, and we got to play them. They're like a surprise team. I'm not saying they're going to win. They might win one round of the playoffs. Hope it's not against us, but that's a fun young team that really nobody would have said this team's going to be, a factor come playoff time. But I'm always admiring how the culture of the Miami Heat. They have a strategy. They go after certain players. They all play a certain way. And then they add Kyle Lowry to the team. And it's just, they're a fun team to watch because they grind you down. And when the playoffs come around, that team looks to me like it might be the team to beat, in my opinion. Everybody's talking about Brooklyn. Milwaukee hasn't had all their guys back yet. Philadelphia gives us trouble, although, hopefully we don't have to face them right away. But it's going to be a fun time. The conference is different. I feel like we're emerging as the new West, and the West is kind of looking like us, very top heavy the last couple of years. Mark, what do you think?
The East is a bear. You look at all these teams, and there's nobody that, without really looking at it, if you just look at the team, look at the personnel, there's nobody you feel comfortable playing. If I'm the Bulls, even in the first round. You brought up Cleveland, Gene. Eric Mobley, that's a thing there. That's going to be something in a few years when he's allowed to buy a beer legally. He's going to be something. I don't like throwing comparisons out because they always bite me in the butt. But there's a little Kevin Garnett in that guy. He's really something. And Jared Allen is an all-star right now. And their actually team might have benefited by Sexton getting hurt because Garland's been terrific. That team has really, really come together nicely. But I'm with you with Miami, Gene. That is, they bring in tough-minded players. You start when you have Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler on your team. You better be ready to drop the gloves and fight because that's the way that playoff series would be. And then we haven't even touched on Brooklyn and Milwaukee and Philly with the great talent and great players they have. So the East is terrible. Is terribly tough. Toronto is really starting to play well right now. Charlotte has had a really good season, and the Celtics are 10th right now in the East. So it really, really is difficult. And the Knicks, the Hawks, and the Pacers are on the outside looking in. All those are formidable teams. So it's really, really going to be interesting. Between injuries and COVID and the trade deadline, it's going to be a heck of a ride going into the playoffs.
Yeah, Miami too. The thing is they've done it without Bam. Wait till Bam gets back. So they've got a rookie now playing center who's done a tremendous job. And you mentioned Tucker earlier. I mean, that's a formidable opponent for anybody in the playoffs. And Jimmy's a beast. I mean, Jimmy, I wish we never lost Jimmy. Jimmy could play.
Jimmy can play.
Okay, so we all have our things that we'd like, our wish list of guys we'd like to see on the Bulls. Mark, let's go to you first. If there was an addition that you could add on to the Bulls right now, who would that be? And it could be a name, it could be the type of player you'd be looking for, but what's a guy that you'd really like to see in the Bulls right now? It's a realistic target.
Well, I think AK was on the Score last week talking about the sensitivity in making any moves. Because not only are you bringing in a player to a really strong culture, but you're going to probably be taking somebody out of that culture as well. So it's two different levels that you have to look at. But at looking at the team on the floor, my guy and the guy that I would really trust bringing in to be an addition to our team that would really help us, my guy is Tristan Thompson from Sacramento. We need a big. He's very mobile defensively. He's averaged for his career 3 offensive rebounds a game. He's down to 2.5 this year because his minutes have been cut. But I've watched him play a couple times in the last 2 weeks. He's moving very well. He runs the floor well. He's very active on the boards. He can block shots. He's won a championship in Cleveland. I think he's the kind of guy that would be a really nice fit with this group. Now, I'll even touch on who. I mean, I think Derrick Jones Jr. would be an attractive piece for somebody because he's on an expiring contract. And he's a good soldier. He brings some things to the table as a player. But Tristan Thompson is a guy that I would try to look at if I was going to go get a big, which is, I think, is the primary need on the team. We need size. We need size.
Hang on, Mark. Let me ask you a question. If we went and picked up Tristan Thompson, you know that a Kardashian does not come with that trade. You know that.
Well, then forget it.
Okay.
All right.
Got to keep you on your toes here.
All right. No, seriously, I really think he'd be a nice addition. If it was a wing, we've heard, I think someone mentioned Robert Covington has been mentioned before. Portland's going nowhere this year. Harrison Barnes has been mentioned. I don't see us going big, even though, I mean, for someone like Jeremy Grant, but you see that AK is all in and he's aggressive. And if he thinks that's what's going to put us, to the top of the Eastern Conference, then, we got to stand by him. But if it's just if he's looking to get pieces, my top guy is Tristan Thompson. I think he would be the best fit. I don't know if he could play with Vooch, but he can definitely back up Vooch. He's a better player than Tony Bradley, no question. So, Gene, that'd be my thought on what I'd like to add. How about you? Is there a certain type of player you'd like to add to this roster?
Yeah, I got one guy in mind, and it'll be hard to get him, but it's Dennis Rodman. Okay. We need a very aggressive rebounder, a guy that could be a defensive presence. And I think where is he, right? He's there. That's him, right?
Right there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting makeup of the team. We talk about, well, there's 3 all-stars on the team. Whoever we bring in has got to buy into, we can't bring in a guy that expects to get the ball, especially in the fourth quarter. DeMar and Zach are the alpha dog scorers on this team. And there's certainly a lot of other guys that can score, but we need some type of a 4 that can finish a game as a 5 if we need to sit Vooch. So that type of player, in a perfect world, a Clint Capella from 4 years ago would be perfect. That kind of guy that you don't have to run any offensive plays for. He's going to go out and rebound like crazy and loves to play defense and get to the offensive glass. That type of player. Everyone talks about getting some a 3, a guy that can shoot the 3 and play 3 defense on the wing. I kind of think we have guys like that might be a little shorter than what the perfect 3-and-D guy is. So I'm not so hung up on that. I want to see some height, defensive presence, shot blocking. Nerlens Noel, is he around? Those kind of guys. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I think that Mark and I we're targeting the same team but different players. I would go after Marvin Bagley Jr. over Tristan Thompson, just because I don't know what he is and I know what Tristan Thompson is, and I'm not down on Tristan Thompson. I think he's a serviceable player, and I would take either one, to be honest with you. But Marvin Bagley Jr. could really fit in well with this team as potential cog that he really hasn't asserted himself, and I don't know if that's because of the team he's been on. I'd love to see him on a really good team like the Bulls and see what he can do. But the guy that, that's a guy that I'd say, okay, I'll give you a pick for him, but the guy that I would like, and I'd give up a lot for, I'm talking, I'd give up P. Will and a draft pick, is Domantas Sabonis. If we had that piece, oh my, because that's exactly what you're describing. That's a guy that could play 4, he could play 5, he could come off at the end of the game, he could be on the court if you need him to be on the court. He's just a big body. He does a lot of things inside. He's got the moves inside. He gives you a low post presence. Could stretch Vooch, continue to stretch Vooch out a little bit. I would love to see him in a Bulls uniform. And maybe the third guy that, I would toy with, that he's kind of a stretch this way. He's got a knee injury, but I've always liked Larry Nance Jr. And I think he could fit in that role as well. But again, that's a guy kind of like Bagley that I wouldn't give up a lot to get. But Sabonis, I would be the one guy right now in the whole NBA that I would give up something for, would be him. Do you guys? Am I pipe dreaming with Domantas Sabonis, boys, or what? What do you think?
I look at Sabonis and I love him. I think he's a great player, but I almost think like he's kind of like the same guy as Vooch. He's much better offensive rebounding. And the guy's got elite skills around the basket. I love his game. But I almost think like he and Vooch are kind of like twin brothers. The way their games are shaped. But Pites, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know if they could play together. Sabonis is an excellent player, and you're not going to get him for Patrick Williams and a pick. You'd have to give up a lot more than that. You'd have to throw Kobe White in there. Derrick Jones Jr. probably. Sabonis is an all-star. So I see the attraction. He's a very, very good player. When you said you were going to be on the same team, I thought you were going to say Harrison Barnes, who's another guy that's been mentioned for the Bulls as a 3-and-D guy. The reason I said Tristan Thompson, and your points that you know what you're getting with him, I think that's why they would make the deal for him. Because I think the Bulls are in position where they want someone where they know what they're going to get. I don't think they want to take a flyer on a guy when they're having the kind of season they are right now and hope that he blends in and hope that he plays to their expectations. I think they know what they're getting with a guy like Thompson, and that would bring some comfort in making a trade like that.
In closing, because I know we got to wrap it up, but I'm just amazed at their accomplishments with what they've had to go through beyond just the brutal schedule that Gene was right on point with. Right.
No, Gene, you just looked at it and saw that we had a really tough run there, and we weren't making any predictions, but we knew that was going to be a tough run, and we came out of there, in great shape. Like you said, winning both games in Los Angeles, really in Brooklyn, winning, beating the Knicks. We really, really had a great one. Now we're going into another really tough stretch.
Another tough stretch, yeah.
Really tough stretch, and we're going to show our mettle. It doesn't get any easier, and in the East you get very, very, very few nights off. We have the Pistons at home tonight. Hopefully we can put that one in the left-hand column and move on. But we've got some really, really tough games coming up, and again, we've covered a lot tonight, and I think it's going to be an incredibly exciting rest of the winter and into the spring for the team, and interested to see what we do as we approach a trade deadline.
Any closing thoughts, hoops expert Gene Kelly? Can you dig it?
Well, I'm a fan of the movie The Quiet Man, And there's a quiet man that we didn't talk about, Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's been unbelievable, and he's not he's had some great shooting nights, but boy, his floor game, his defensive resistance, the rotation D that he has, I've loved his game. He hasn't been on the court due to some COVID issues and so forth, but that is a very quiet pickup that AK and Eversley made. That has just been fantastic. I love his game. He's yet another guy that adds to the culture, the good culture they have on that roster. But that's my closing point. I'm very excited about the rest of the year and anxious to see all these guys get back at full strength.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on what Gene said. That's a great point. We haven't talked about Lonzo Ball tonight, and he's been terrific. And I think we touched earlier when we did our show at the beginning of the year that he was a really good fit for this team. And he's been a great fit for this team. And I love now when he gets the ball and he's open, he takes that one rhythm dribble into the 3-point shot and it's in. I've never seen a player do that. He'll catch the ball wide open, and instead of just rising up into his shot, he'll dribble it one time and then go into his shot. And it's money. It's going down. And really, the improvement that guy has made in, maybe the most important skill in basketball, shooting the ball, the improvement he's made and the changes he made in his shot are really incredible. I give him all the credit in the world. So, you want to...
Yeah, you talked about it last time. It's this, not that, right?
It's shooting the ball from this side of your head, not this side, which he did throughout college and his first few years in the league. I've never seen anybody shoot the ball from the opposite side.
Well, you would, Mark, if you were left-handed, but he's not left-handed.
Right. Exactly.
Captain Obvious over here.
Exactly.
Well, Captain Obvious, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. We look forward to it. You're a cult legend in the Sit and Pie army. So thank you again, as always, for coming on. You were great as usual. Thank you.
Outstanding. Go Bulls. And Chicago, just get ready to enjoy some great basketball, because now all the games matter more and we're going to the playoffs. Very excited.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Gene.
As always, it was great fun conversing with our good friend, hoops expert Gene Kelly. Can you dig it? Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Peace.